more than 4 decades, the Libyan people have been ruled by a tyrant, Muammar Gaddafi. He has denied his people freedom, exploited their wealth, murdered opponents at home and abroad.
Now here's a national debt clock. This is real-time national debt in the United States. This is recorded on the morning of October 28th, 2011. That's $14 trillion. That's an incomprehensible amount of money. Look at how the thousands, hundreds of thousands are piling up on the right side just within a few seconds. I mean, it's just unreal. You want to know what the national debt was of Libya? Is or was, I don't know if it's still going to be. Yes, that's right. Now, I told you I was suspect when I heard about this Gaddafi being killed. I've been doing some more research and some more digging, and as usual, my instincts, my hunches were right. You know what the situation was in Libya? Everyone in Libya gets a free college education. Everyone in Libya gets free health care. There are no homeless people in Libya. Libya is a debt-free country. One of I think about 5. No Rothschild banks. That's not. Of course, that's going to change. I guarantee you, the first thing that's going to change is Rothschild Bank is going to be in Libya now. Here's a motorcade, a video. I saw a recent one of Gaddafi driving down the streets of his country. Now, Libya was one of the poorest countries in Africa, in the world, when Gaddafi took office. Now it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and its citizens are some of the best. Look at the streets as you see here. You'll notice absent. Does it look like a slum? You see where the slums at? You don't see any slums. This is Tripoli, main city in Libya. Where are the slums? Where's all the obnoxious advertising banners that you see all over the United States, trying to get you to buy crap to make the Zionists richer? Where do you see the porno shops? You notice? Do you see any porno shops along the side of the road? You notice how everybody is hailing him as a hero as he drives down the street. This is a guy who supposedly tortures and murders people, okay? We're constantly hearing about how he's always torturing and murdering people. Somebody who goes around torturing and murdering innocent people normally isn't going to get this reception. Notice he's riding in an open sunroof through the streets of Tripoli. I mean, if he goes around torturing and murdering innocent people, how come nobody's shooting at the guy? You think Bush, Cheney, Barack Obama, any of these other people, most other European nations would go driving around in an open limousine? Yeah, right. What happened to Gaddafi? Ended up with a bullet in his head. Seems like anybody who issues debt-free money ends up with a bullet in their head. Yeah, happened to Kennedy, and well, although Kennedy wasn't quite issuing debt-free, well, he was increasing that. And happened to Lincoln. I keep hearing all these horror stories about Gaddafi's blowing up his own people, killing his own people. Like I said, why is it that when I see actual video footage, his people are hailing him? You know, they did the same thing with Hitler. People said Hitler was such a horrible, horrible, evil, monstrous person, yet his own people hailed him as being the greatest leader in the history of Germany. Say the same thing about Idi Amin, Fidel Castro. They're saying the same thing about this Kim Sung, North Korea. All these people are being demonized, and I'd be willing to bet most of these stories about how horrible they are completely exaggerated, if not complete fabrications. Anybody who goes against these Zionist bankers ends up being demonized and accused of torture and murder, but the people love them. Now, if they're going around torturing and murdering their own people, why are their people loving them and hailing them? It doesn't make any sense. Now there's all these atrocities that he's being accused of. I'd be willing to bet anything I own that most of these atrocities were done by the NATO-controlled rebels. I'm going to show you a couple of clips here.
Tripoli's renewed calls for international experts to visit the country to assess the scale of violence against civilians. The Libyan government insists the claims of the opposition that over 10,000 have died since the beginning of the clashes are exaggerated. Sukat Chandan's just returned from Libya. He was part of the first international group to be invited to examine the civilian losses in the conflict. He's on the line from London now to talk about what he saw there. Thank you for coming on to RT. What impressions and evidence did you bring back with you then?
I think one of the most important things to say on our delegation is that the basis for 1973, the UN resolution, was that the claim was that Gaddafi had bombed from the air 3 particular districts in Tripoli: Sabjuma, Fajloun and Tajura. We visited these places. There was no indication whatsoever of any aerial bombardments. So it just goes to show that if there's a claim, this has to be actually corroborated properly, and that hasn't been done. And what we've had is a situation where NATO has gone to war against a sovereign nation on the base of an allegation, which, in terms of our findings, was just baseless.
OK, right. I take your group also reports that you have been able to corroborate that there were civilian fatalities because of NATO bombings. Now, again, crucially important here, tell us more about that. How have you been able to corroborate that?
Well, you know, speaking to these British journalists in Tripoli was very interesting. They've been there for over 2 months. They've only been able to corroborate 1 civilian casualty from the NATO bombing. We, in the matter of 1 morning, managed to go to hospitals, see death certificates, see hospital records, visited families, saw death certificates in their possession, had testimonials from families, and we corroborated the possibility of 7 civilian deaths within a matter of 3 hours. So really, if people are very serious about understanding what the situation is going on in Libya, they need to go there. Professional teams need to be sent, and this has been called for by the Gaddafi regime and by a different. There needs to be international mediation, there needs to be immediate ceasefire, there needs to be reconciliation, and fundamentally NATO has to stop its aggression. I mean, the British journalists were very interesting. They accused us of being naive in Tripoli. Well, they said they had free access to Benghazi. Why didn't the British journalists investigate the mass lynchings of dark, black-skinned Libyans all across eastern Libya? You know, what is wrong with these journalists? They can go to YouTube, they can see literally black people being chopped up alive, literally on YouTube, in Benghazi and in the rebel-held areas. Why haven't the British journalists investigated this?
And just to clarify, chopped up by whom?
By the rebels, by the pro-NATO Contras, as I call them.
OK, well, Sukat Chandan.
Returned from the airport, I've come straight into the studio here in London. And the British response to our delegation is our head delegate is currently in Heathrow police custody suite being questioned.
Being questioned
this
why?
is the response
about what?
of the British authorities.
What's he being questioned about? Can you tell us?
Well, I don't know. I returned with him to the airport. We passed passport control, and he was taken straight away by the police. And now me and my colleagues are trying to find out. He's incommunicado.
Okay.
We assume he's in Heathrow custody suite. So this is the British response to a peace initiative. We went there to meet the Archbishop of Libya.
Perhaps this swine virus may be one of those viruses that was created in the laboratory, and it got out of control because it was meant in the beginning to be used as a military weapon. Over 165 countries, the ratio is 1 of 8, and one was present and 8 were absent. Are we equal in the permanent seats? No, we are not equals. And the preamble says that all nations are equal, whether they are small nations or whether they are big nations, as far as rights. Do we have the rights of the veto? Are we equals? The preamble says that we are equals in our rights, whether we are big or small. This is what is stated in the nations, and this is what we have agreed in the preamble. So the veto is against the charter. The demonstrators are against the charter. We do not accept it and we do not acknowledge it. That we, in the preamble, I mean, that we shall not resort to the military force unless it is a common interest. This is the preamble which we were happy and we signed and we joined the United Nations because we wanted the charter to be like that. It says that the armed forces only use it when it is a common interest to all nations. But after that, what happened? 65 wars broke out after the establishment of the United Nations and after the establishment of the Security Councils and after this establishment. 65, and the victims are millions more than the victims of the Second World War. Are these wars and the aggressions and the force that was used, the power in the 65 was in the interest of the common interest of all of us? No, it was in the interest of one country or 3 countries or 4 countries or 1 country. This is what we have now. This is what we are rejecting, and we shall never continue with it. This came to an end during the Second World War, and if there is any aggression by one country against another after the 45, after the establishment of this United Nations, if there is any aggression against any country, the United Nations altogether should deter and stop this aggression. Nuclear proliferations, as well as the hypocrisy, the deteriorations and the control of the legitimate, the money-wise, dear brothers. And
the Taliban presented a threat to the United States.
لأنه تحتضن طالبان والطالبان تشكل تهديدا على الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
And Al-Qaeda too.
وتحتضن القاعدة.
طالبان لا تشكل أي خطر. طالبان في ذاتها يعني.
Taliban as such, Taliban per se, does not pose any threat.
طالبان زي الفاتيكان.
Taliban equals Vatican or similar to Vatican.
وبعدين هذول ناس يعني متخلفين ولا عندهم قنابل ذرية ولا صواريخ ولا طائرات ولا حاجة.
They don't have airplanes, they don't have aircraft, they don't have rockets, missiles, weapons.
How about Al-Qaeda?
القاعدة وين هي؟
Where is القاعدة?
القاعدة هنا في نيويورك.
القاعدة is here in New York.
6 years ago, you said the United States has made Osama bin Laden a prophet and a saint in the Islamic world. Is he still held that way, do you think?
ما كانش يجب أن نعطوه هذه القيمة.
We should not have given him this value or this status.
من هو بن لادن؟
Who is he, bin Laden?
He committed a heinous act.
هو بن لادن عملها.
Bin Laden made this heinous act.
You don't think what Osama bin Laden did was wrong?
هل هو كان في إحدى الطائرات اللي ضربت الأبراج؟
Was he on board one of those aircraft
No.
that hit the towers?
But he took credit for sending them.
لا هذا شيء ثاني لكن.
This is another thing.
يعني ما أعتقدش الآن بين أيدينا حكم قانوني ضد بن لادن بهالخصوص.
I don't think that in front of us we have a court sentence vis-à-vis bin Laden or in this regard.
يعني الإرهابيين اللي ضربوا نيويورك ما هوش أفغان.
The terrorists who hit New York are not from Afghan. They're not Afghani.
ما طلعوش من الطائرات من أفغانستان أو من العراق.
They did not use the airplanes or take off from Iraq or Afghanistan by airplanes.
طلعوا من مطار كندي هنا.
They flew from JFK airport here in New York.
وهو العمل كله حصل داخل أمريكا.
The whole action was done here.
وتدربوا هنا في أمريكا.
They were trained here.
لم يتدربوا في العراق ولم يتدربوا في أفغانستان.
They did not train, or they were not trained in Iraq or in Afghan.
Oh, okay.